All right, welcome to our first edition of our Buena Vida Social Club wine tasting for the month of July. So I have my trusty guest, JC, here.
Yes, hello.
She'll be tasting with us today. Our theme for this month is women in wine. We're showcasing totally badass women winemakers that one of them is defending a varietal, i.e. a grape, that is almost extinct. That everybody should know about. It's definitely a varietal that's a little obscure, off the beaten path, but here we are and we're going to taste it together. And then the other one is from an importer and winemaker that I truly love, Mary Taylor, Jacqueline Delaunay, Muscadet. Super, super happy that you're here. The goal here is to make the educational side accessible. It's fun. It's not scary. Everything is subjective. You're never wrong what you're tasting. And yeah, it's super important. It's super important that we showcase these women winemakers, and really excited that you're here. First one here is Jacqueline Delaunay, the Muscadet, Sèvres et Maine, which you'll see on the label often. That just means that the grapes are grown on a little isthmus between the rivers Sèvres et Maine in the Loire Valley. So the Loire Valley is very, very famous for its biodiversity in terroir. So it has all different types of soils, soil makeup, soil composition that's going to show through in the wine. So literally you can grow Muscadet from 1 mile away to Muscadet another mile away, and they're going to taste totally different. So basically what happened in the Loire Valley is millions and millions of years ago, there was a giant glacier that moved through the valley. And took away from the Alps, and went from the Alps all the way out to the Atlantic, and brought with it all of these extra fossils. And
so cool.
Yeah, it is super, super cool. And it left behind tons and tons and tons of like little fossils of shells and like crayfish, maybe?
Yeah,
crayfish?
something.
Maybe they were there. I don't know. We don't know. Oysters, all the things. Which is why Muscadet is famous for being able to drink with fresh seafood. So,
amazing.
Oysters, yes.
Huh.
Indeed. All right. First pour. So we're going to go over some quick foundational things here of how to taste wine. First, we look at the color of it. So this is quite yellow, really, really clear, which means that it probably had some fining and some filtration there because it's not cloudy at all. And then typically we'll do a little swirl like this. So basically what swirling does is it makes it so that it's possible to be able to aerate the wine. So the more the wine is exposed to oxygen, the more aromatics that you're gonna get out of it. So basically you're opening it up. All right, so what are we smelling? It smells pretty rich to me, huh? Kind of honey-y, a little bit of like
definitely
melony.
honey. Yeah, melon and then pear.
Okay. Like preserved pear or like fresh pear?
Fresh pear.
Fresh
Like
pear?
you bite into a pear.
Oh, I love that. Cool. And then we of course see how yellow it is. Perfect. Cool. We know that it's got like a specific amount of viscosity because it is sticking to the glass all the way up to the top from where I swirled it. So there is an analogy that people use, like for full-bodied wines, it sticks to the glass as whole milk would, and then skim milk is light-bodied wines. So skim milk is like a little bit more watery, it's less viscous. Cool, let's taste it. So we're making sure that the wine hits every single corner of your mouth. You have taste buds everywhere. Specifically, if once you swallow it and you start to salivate, that's when you know that a wine is acidic, which is a marker of a well-balanced wine with great structure. So salinity is important, acidity is really important. Is your mouth watering?
Yeah.
Like a lot? Perfect. That's the point of it.
Great.
So Muscadet is a fairly acidic wine. What did you taste? Is it like sweet? Is it like thin? Is it flabby? Flabby means that it doesn't have any acid. What do you taste?
Definitely like thin Thin and citrusy.
Thin and citrusy.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of citrus? Like yuzu, orange, grapefruit, lemon, key lime, lime.
Ooh, lime. Or key lime. More.
Interesting.
More so, for sure.
I'm into that. I am.
Me too.
Perfect.
Yeah,
So
so
what
good.
about like flowers or anything?
Mm.
Smell flowers? Anything floral? Anything vegetal?
Yes. Definitely botanical.
Oh, I love that word.
Yeah.
Lime verbena? Perhaps?
What's that?
Lime verbena?
Yeah.
Did you not shop at Bath and Body Works when you were 14? Anyway, all right, cool. So we were talking to them about the tasting notes. I don't ever think that you should look for any of these characteristics in the wine tasting at home. I do want to reiterate completely that any experience that you have with the wine, anything you taste, anything that you smell, is completely subjective. That's for you to interpret on your own based on your past experiences. If it brings back a memory, that's exactly what wine is supposed to do. So a little bit about this wine that we're drinking. It's Muscadet. Muscadet is the varietal. It is traditionally drank with lots of seafood. So Muscadet is perfect with oysters. And then the importer is Mary Taylor. So Mary Taylor is a friend of mine. She's a total badass. So what she does is she works with small vignerons in France, Italy, and Spain to be able to market the wine properly and then import it to the United States. She has enormous importing power, and she kind of collaborates with these fairly small winemakers that normally wouldn't have the power to be able to do that. So the point of Mary Taylor's wines is they're accessible, they're varietally accurate, they are regionally accurate. So if you see that it's a Muscadet Sèvres, that is exactly as a Muscadet should taste from the Loire Valley in France. So there's no surprises. It's like, it's classical, it's what it should be, and it kind of sets the benchmark of exactly what the varietal and the region should taste like.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So for beginner wine drinkers, novices alike, whatever you are, if you purchase any of the wines that look like this, she has very specific branding. But I guarantee that you'll love it every single time. All of her wines are typically sustainably sourced, biodynamic, organic, depending, of course, on the winemaker. This specific winemaker is Jacqueline Delaunay. I do want to point out that it is an enormous feat to be able to be a winemaker in France, Italy, Spain, and hold your own and make really, really amazing wine. It is traditionally a very masculine-dominated industry. And that's why we want to showcase Jacqueline Delaunay, because she's a total badass, and she's making great wine in Loire Valley, and
Yeah.
cheers to Jacqueline.
Yes.
Cheers to Mary Taylor. Cheers to us.
Cheers.
Cheers to Buena Vida Social Club. Cheers to our first month of wine club, and it's gonna be super exciting.
It's gonna be
I'm
good.
stoked.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah, this is delicious.
so satisfying.
It's so good.
So satisfying. All right. Next up, super excited and inspired by this next wine. It's called Le Zère. This is from Alto Adige in Italy. So winemaker here and the proprietor of the entire estate is Elisabetta Foradori. There is no way that we could talk about women in wine without mentioning her. She is a complete badass. She took over the entire estate when she was only 19 years old. Once she finished enology school, which I don't know how long enology school takes in Italy, but I was not done with college until I was like 25. So, it's fine, it's fine.
Will you say her name again slower?
Elisabetta Foradori.
Elisabetta Foradori.
Foradori.
Damn, that's beautiful.
Foradori is here.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
Elisabetta
Gorge.
Foradori.
So, Elisabetta, as I'm opening this, I'll tell you a little bit about why she is so important. She is literally fighting the good fight for an ancient varietal that is nearly extinct. And we're about to drink a little bit of it today.
Ooh.
So the varietal is Tiraldigo. Tiraldigo it was grown traditionally in northern Italy. It's a cold weather grape. Grown at the base of the Dolomites, which is the northern area of Italy that leads up into the Alps. So high elevation, thick skins. Tiraldigo is grown by not that many people in the area. And it was traditionally used up until Elisabetta came around as simply a blending grape. So a little history of this wine specifically is the fact that in 2017, in August, the estate went through a really, really, really bad hailstorm. So what they did was their first vintage was released in 2018 of Lazare. This is a 2020 vintage.
When you say vintage, what does that mean?
The vintage is, thank you for asking that. It's a great question.
You're welcome.
Vintage is when the grapes were harvested.
Okay.
So current vintage for some wines can be the grapes are harvested in 2016, and some winemakers will rest the grapes or age it or vinify it up until current release. So it could be 2022 and their current release is 2018, 2016 vintage. So vintage is literally just the year that the grapes are harvested. Usually it's about a year ahead from where we're at if it's something like a natural wine or a table wine. But if it's something that's super ageable, then current vintage will be 2017, 16, 15, 18, depending.
That's cool.
Yeah. So in the spirit of our hot ass Phoenix summer, instead of showcasing a big, big red, we're doing a natural light red / dark rosé. Like I said, this is 100% Tiraldigo from Tarantino, way up north.
Yeah.
So we're expecting pretty good acidity, specifically because it's from Italy. We're expecting less fruit forwardness and a little bit more complexity. Maybe a little bit more vegetal notes is what I'm suspecting that will smell / taste. So if you were to look at this wine, you'd be like, oh cool, it's like cute and like dark rosé, dark pink, light red. With color, I would say like, okay, well maybe this is going to be a little bit richer for wine, and it absolutely is. I'm going to debunk a myth really quick, is a lot of people think that rosés are sweeter. Classical rosés are not typically sweet. So if you have a well-made rosé from Provence in France or otherwise, just because it's pink doesn't mean that it's sweet. That just means that we need to expand the swath of rosés that you've tasted. And we'll do that eventually. It'll be great. It'll be so much fun. We'll all do it together. Yeah. Let's do a little swirl. You're getting so much better at that.
But should I be holding it down here like you are?
Okay, so thank you for asking. Oh my god, that's such a good question. So the reason that we hold wines at the stem is because if it is, no matter what the style is, if it's supposed to be served cold, if it's supposed to be served at 55 to 60 degrees temperature, we don't want the hotness of our hands to change the temperature of the wine.
Yes, of course.
So
that makes total sense.
enter my perpetual disdain of stemless wine glasses.
Ooh.
They're good for business, they spill less, but it definitely affects the temperature of the wine.
Totally.
So when we're holding wine glasses, a lot of times I'll do this, depending on how drunk I am.
Yeah.
But like, never this,
Right.
because this is bad.
Bad.
Cool. Unless we're trying to warm up the wine, which we're not trying to do.
We're not trying to do that.
Because it is 110 degrees outside. Alright, so here we go. We're smelling. It smells like vegetables to me. It literally smells like tomatoes.
Yeah,
It's like sweet tomatoes, Campari tomatoes.
It's like, yeah.
It smells like pasta.
Yeah, it smells really
Oh my
good.
god. It's Italian wine, of course it's gonna smell like pasta.
So good.
So we've established tomato leaf,
You know,
olives.
every time you say a word, it matches.
Okay. So good.
Ooh,
Elizabeth Foradori, I fucking love you.
dang.
God. So this is one of the very, very few expressions of Traldigo that you'll find that A is accessible price-wise. And if you want to try an ancient grape that is nearly extinct, this is it. This is the perfect entry level of it. So the other thing that Elizabeth Foradori is doing is she experiments with different vinification methods. So specifically for this vintage, they experimented with oak, they experimented with concrete, they experimented with stainless steel, they experimented with amphora. So amphora, to age wine, is really important to know that it is also porous. Same thing with concrete, same thing with oak.
Wow.
So what they did with this specific wine is they did like a combination of amphora and a little bit of concrete fermentation, so that we have like that some of that oxidative, like rich flavor profile that you're experiencing.
Yeah, 100%. Oof, that's so cool.
Yes. So basically what we're coming down to is summary of everything is the fact that Elizabeth Foradori is a total badass.
Yes.
She's single-handedly preserved, saved, and reinvigorated and re-energized this one varietal that nobody gave a shit about before.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It was
It's
just
so
a little
good.
blending grape. It was just a blending grape that nobody cared about. But now, like, she has, like, these wines that... So this is, like, entry-level Traldigo, but she has other wines that are, like, blowing people out of the water with how complex and interesting they are.
Yeah.
So
Using
she
the
she single-handedly put this one varietal back on the map that nobody cared about before, which
Leave
I
it to a
absolutely
woman.
love it. I know, right?
Leave
Okay.
it to a gal.
I'll just cheers one more time. Mine is super easy to like be like, oh yeah, it's something to get drunk on. But we have to pay homage to the people who made it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to pay homage to the fact that it's art, it's living, it's made by people who care, and people who have been doing it for generations past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wine is a living thing. There's a reason why if you grab a natural wine and there's things in the bottom, typically that's yeast, and that means that it's living.
Right.
Let it do its thing.
Aw.
Live and let it live, you know what I mean?
Oh, cute.
Yeah, totally, I know.
Wowza. I mean, whoo, the difference in these.
It's pretty cool, and that's why we're all here, right? Is to try new things that we've never tried before
Wow.
in an environment that typically we don't find as far as openness of what we taste or whatever it might be. The point is that we're not giving you a card to be able to list what you're supposed to taste. We're here to do it a little bit more like as friends.
Yes.
And we want you here with us, and we want to be able to discuss what you taste, what you smell, what you think, what the wine makes you feel. It's literally like when you go to the Phoenix Art Museum and you stare at a piece of art and it makes you feel a certain way. And I've had wine do that. Like, I've had wine make me completely lose my train of thought, my words, and it makes me stop in my tracks. I talk a lot. And sometimes wine has made me just stop talking because I have to spend time with it.
That's so cute.
It's serious. It's real.
That's so sweet.
I know. Because it is art. It's bottled art and it's living and
Yeah.
it's supposed to make you feel something.
Yes, absolutely.
So we have two totally badass winemakers, biodynamic, organic, really sustainable, that are putting out incredibly great product that you may or may not think to buy at the store. But that's our job, is to put it in front of you. And I really, really hope you enjoyed every single thing that you tasted today. We'll do a quadruple cheers.
Oh, yes. Cheers to us and cheers to y'all.
And cheers to Elizabeth Foradori and Jacqueline Delaunay.
Mm-hmm.
Badasses wine.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.